It is absolutely downpouring with rain. The ball head will allow this to pivot and I drape it over top of my microphone. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's episode, I want to share something with you that's very simple, but something that I always get asked. How do you film in the rain? What are some of the consequences that you have to endure with filming in the rain? What are some of your strategies, pieces of gear, methods, and little filming and photography life hacks that you picked up along the way to keep your camera gear dry and undamaged? So I want to answer some of that today. I am out camping, totally engulfed in rain right now. It is super loud. I'm in and out of the tent. I'm hiking. Often in the wintertime, I'm out in the snow, the freezing cold conditions. I mean, I'm sitting in the tent right now and I'm already getting chilled just coming out of my sleeping bag. So I want to touch on a lot of the things that I do, some little hacks, because I am literally out in the field right now practicing some of these things. And I just figured, you know what, why not film this and share it with you guys? So let's get right into this. All right, guys. So first of all, I'm on the DJI Action Osmo 4. Which is what we're recording on right now. That is my small action camera. And I am currently using the DJI mic number 2. There are two versions of this, mic 1 and mic 2. The mic 2 pairs via Bluetooth with the action camera wirelessly. No mods needed, no cables, no plugs, nothing. The mic just pairs right to the camera and other Bluetooth devices such as your phone. So right now I have it on slight noise canceling mode. It is absolutely downpouring with rain. The noise canceling mode enables my voice to be very clear in the camera in rain and high wind, which is very, very important because when it's very windy out, your audio is destroyed. The microphone on the camera, even though it has a dead cat, a noise muff, is often totally destroyed. Not only that, the large microphone blows in the wind, which then bounces my main camera, which then creates shaky footage, which I don't like. So we'll touch more on that camera in just a moment, but I just want to talk on the microphone. Basically, keeping it on your person. This can come off. I can clip it inside of my shirt with the magnet supplied. I can clip it on the wall of the tent if I want audio from a different angle. If I'm pouring coffee from in like a really, really windy situation, I'm kind of outside of the tent or next to the Jeep or whatever. For example, there was a camping trip I did. I took the Jeep in the rooftop tent and I parked on a gravel bar right next to a massive raging mountain river. This microphone could not record anything but whitewater sound the entire video. I could drop a titanium spoon on a bowl or a frying pan from this far away and you couldn't even hear it drop in the pan. So what I had to do was take one of these microphones and magnetically click it to the Jeep all over the place, pointing at what I was doing. So if I had a pot and I was pouring water, I had to click the microphone pointing at the pot every single shot. Didn't matter what I did. If I walked away and snapped the stick for breaking firewood, I had to strategically place that microphone either beside my shoe off camera to capture that sound. So that's where these come in very, very handy. They're also great for interviews because you could pair these 1 or 2 or 3 to other people that you're with. You can also put the receiver to that mic on this camera and run this mic with that camera. So these are very, very universal. They are expensive, but they are well worth the money. Absolutely. Because I mean, I'm talking in a normal voice right now. It is pouring with rain. I'm quite confident you guys can hear the words that I'm saying right now without any issue. Massive rainstorm out there, clear audio inside. I will also mention that having this mic on that camera keeps all of the waterproof ports on that camera shut. There's no plugs, there's no adapters. It is totally encased. Audio on my body, video from the camera, works really great. We've got like a 300-foot operating distance with these, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's up to 300 feet. Very, very, very far. I've never stepped too far away from the camera and not had any audio. So it works really, really, really well. So I want to talk on the main camera that I'm using today on this adventure. Before I do that, I do want to talk about the tripod that I typically use for that camera. Sometimes I put the main camera on this. It is a very small tripod. So this is from Ulanzi. It has a ball head on it with a quick release. All of my cameras have quick release plates on them, so I could transfer out my camera to whatever tripod very easily. This mini tripod opens up. I believe it's about 8 inches in length to about 10 or 11 inches because the legs do extend. So they do extend to one single position only, giving it a little bit of extra height, but it also can squat really, really low by dropping these legs out, which is extremely useful for getting those really low to ground shots where a big tripod is really difficult to manipulate those legs because it spreads out a lot. This, being super small, even collapsing these legs in, enables me to get ground level shots inside of the tent by pairing this camera to that, just like that, getting really, really awesome shots. It weighs next to nothing. There is a cold shoe mount on the side of it as well, which I often take the microphone off and click it to that. I'll show you guys right now. We're gonna lose some audio from my voice because I have to move the microphone. But taking this microphone, sliding it in to the cold shoe, and the magnet just fell off in my shirt. Locate that magnet. There it is. And what I do is I take the magnet and I click it on the back of the microphone, so now the microphone can't fall off. And then I point the camera in this direction, whichever way I'm pointing it. So if I'm vlogging like this, the microphone's pointing at me. The reason why I do that is because if I'm with somebody else and I'm talking, they're in microphone shot. So recently I did a shoot in a Fjallraven store. This is how I did my portion of it. The other portion, I just gave the store manager the microphone to wear, and it worked great. It canceled out all the noise from the customers in the store. It was just his voice very clearly. And this way I can film with the camera on the tripod, moving in and out while capturing audio. Because you guys listen, if I turn this away, and then I continue talking, you could probably not hear me that well. So if it didn't pick up, I'll repeat that. You probably can't hear me that well when I turn the microphone away. We'll check that in post in the camera, or out of the camera in the computer, but I'm confident you guys probably would have been like, what did he say? So these mics are absolutely worth it. Let's move on to the next camera. All right, it is really coming down with rain right now. Got the camera positioned in kind of the doorway area. Very, very rainy out. So on today's adventure, there is one more piece of gear. Here it is. It's a little wet. We'll talk on that in just a second. So today I have the Canon R6 Mark II. This is a mirrorless DSLR. It's not actually a DSLR because it's mirrorless. DSLR stands for Digital Single Lens Reflect. This doesn't have the reflective part because it's mirrorless. Means it's smaller, and in today's age, a lot more powerful than a DSLR for size factor. This thing bumps out high pixels, 4K, incredible footage. This is my main camera. Between the R6 Mark II and the Canon R5 is what I typically been using. So this microphone is I thought this was from Boya. It's actually from Comica. This is the Comica V30 Lite. I would unplug it right now, but I'm not going to because I'm not done camping and I'm not done filming this video. The reason why I don't want to unplug it is anytime it is raining or you have moisture on your fingers or any kind of dampness in the air, never touch your microphone cord going in your camera. I learned this years ago doing film. Never do it because what happens is those little plugs, so 3.5 millimeter plugs that go in your camera, if any moisture, a drop of rain, even just moisture in the air, a snowflake, anything, you plug it back in, your audio can, not every time, but can be total trash, unusable, just because the moisture jumps across the little black line on that plug connecting that circuit, it creates static. It creates all kinds of horrible noises. So I'm not going to unplug it. The reason I'm mentioning that is because this bar that's on top of the camera right now is from Neewer. This is a cold shoe splitter. So what it does is gives me two mounts to mount things. Typically, I do not use that. I only put the microphone on the camera. The reason why I've got it set up like that today is because I actually have an umbrella. This is something very new to me, only within the last 2 months, and I've only used it one time, today. So what this is a very inexpensive umbrella, not for me, for the camera. So it has a cold shoe mount and it's on a ball head, so you can actually tip it to wherever you need it to go to protect your camera from rain, snow. You can tip it and use it as a sunshade to stop some sun reflective coming off the lens if you're shooting into a sunset. It's also silver foil on the back, so you can use it as a light reflector. So you guys can see that is reflecting right now. Depending on where I'm pointing the camera, I have a light behind me. So if I was facing that way and the camera was behind me, I can use this to reflect the light to fill in my face as I'm filming. Not so much for film, but really good for photography. So this is a tiny little tripod, an umbrella that goes on the camera when the camera's on the tripod. It also fits on the action camera. It's not really needed because the action camera is waterproof, but that does go on top of the camera to protect it. The Canon R6 Mark II and the R5 are waterproof or highly water resistant. So the camera right now is actually quite wet. I'm not worried about that. I've literally gone out and filmed and photographed in dead of winter and have had like 3-4 inches of snow and ice on top of this camera. As long as I can get to the buttons, sometimes the buttons will actually freeze because when you're touching it, the snow will melt and it will turn into water and freeze the dials and the buttons. So sometimes you like mash on the buttons to break the ice off. It works. So very expensive camera gear, but very good camera gear. I only shoot with Canon and action cameras. I do have a GoPro 10, but I much prefer the DJI Action 4. Hands down, excellent camera. So another hack that I use, you guys probably thinking, well, geez, how have you been filming all this time in rain without an umbrella for your camera? This is where the hack comes in, guys. So what I've been doing, taking my toque for years, and I drape it over top of my microphone just like that, keeping the front open. What this does is it blocks out really heavy gusts of wind that are attacking the microphone. It also protects the top of the camera from getting terribly wet. And when I have to walk away and I'm not filming and the camera is just idling there on the tripod, I just simply pull the entire toque down over the camera until I'm ready to film. And then I just come over, roll it up, flip open the screen, turn the camera on, and I'm ready to film. So that's what I've been doing for years. No joke. Photography, film, absolutely awesome. And the reason why I've been doing this, not just because it's super simple, it's affordable, it's right there, but when you have a tent that's being rained on, such as right now, it's very loud. Tap, 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 tapping on the tent. This is essentially a tent for the camera. So raindrops, tap, 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 tap. Keep in mind, I'm a filmmaker. So when I'm filming my outdoor experiences cinematically, very high production quality, and you got this tap, 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 tap sound in your ear, but all you see in video is someone walking through the woods. That doesn't jive with me. That sound should not exist unless there is a tent or tarp set up. So what the toque does is it absorbs that tapping sound on the microphone. So you don't get that artificial tap, 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 tap. Because filmmaking and video making production is not just video, it's a lot of audio, 50-50. It's 50% audio, 50% video. Just me, personally, I don't like that sound. Now, when there is a tarp set up, then I do want to hear that sound. And I think my viewers want to hear that tap, 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 tap sound on the tent. So that's where you can kind of cheat and use this, because now you're just mimicking that sound from the tent on the camera from afar. So then it's not really noticed. I say that now, and you guys probably have never noticed that in other videos and other channels that you watch. Guaranteed you're gonna notice it now, and you're gonna be like, oh, that lone wolf, why did he do that? Now I can't stop hearing it. So once you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. It is actually quite cold out right now, so I'll put my hat back on. I'm borderline shivering right now. Got my sweater and jacket drying out. Sleeping bag is great when I'm lounging. So touching more on this camera, I'm rocking a 16mm lens right now. I also have a 50mm lens. Those are typically the only two lenses that I like to bring out when I'm filming. A 50mm and a 16. So I've got the 50mm in the camera bag right now. This is a Canon 50mm RF. This is a 1.8, and the 16mm is an RF 2.8. The 1.8, beautiful. Love it. Super shallow depth of field, loads of light, crisp and sharp. 50mm RF, highly recommend. The reason why I bring the RF and not the L series lens is because it's lighter for hiking. The L series lenses I like to save for my professional photography when I'm not hiking and camping, because then I've got all the camping gear. So when I'm out doing photo assignments, I'll bring a different camera, different setup. If I'm doing wildlife, I'll have a massive wildlife lens. That's photography, this is camping. So aside from that, I have probably about 15 batteries for that camera, which go with all my other cameras. Same battery for the 5D Mark III, Mark IV, my 6D Mark II, my R5, they're all the same battery type, so I just have a lot of batteries. For the DJI Action Osmo 4, I have 3 batteries, 1 in the camera and 2 inside the camera bag. I also did bring the Hover X1 drone with me on this adventure. I thought I had the DJI Air 2S in here, but I don't. But that is my main drone, is the DJI Air 2S. Right now, I've been rocking this new drone, Hover X1. Very, very portable, pocket-sized drone. I love using this when I'm out on the fat bike because it flies by itself and it follows me. It is stuck on me like glue, which is really, really handy. Charging dock and a spare battery. I brought this just in case I wanted to use it. In here I have the DJI Mic 1. So earlier I was talking about the Mic 2s. This is the Mic 1 in the charging dock. I have 2 of them fully charged and ready to go. I also have the transmitter for the Mic 1s right here, ready to go, fully charged. This is a redundancy just in case something happens to the mic. Hopefully it doesn't. I then have another Mic 2 in here, ready to go, fully charged. So I've got one here, one here. So these are the DJI wireless mics. I can use these on the action camera, like I was saying earlier, or I could take the actual transmitter itself, put this on my other main camera, and run a cord, cable it inside, just like that microphone is already mounted on this camera. And then I could take the receiver, sorry, the transmitter, that's the receiver, and wear this and record with that camera if it's really, really windy out. I could also do the same thing with this. Just a redundancy. Like I said, video is half video and half audio. Audio is very, very important. So I like to have redundancies. I do have a lens cap in here somewhere for my for my 50mm. So lens cap on there. Typically I leave the lens cap off when the lens is inside the tent because I'm constantly switching out. And that is something I do want to mention with quality of video. I am constantly switching out lenses. Sure, I could film an entire video using the Action 4. Beautiful camera. It's never going to beat this, ever. Never the same quality. The reason why I shoot professional film and photography with a DSLR or mirrorless camera is not just the sensor size alone. The sensor size in this is pumping out crisp, very, very crisp footage and photos, but the lens. Having a very high quality lens, manual control, allows me to set my ISO, my shutter speed, my frame rate, and my aperture. aperture is very, very important. A lot of amateur or people that don't know how to film or they don't know cameras will just put it in automatic and they'll film and they'll go, oh, this camera's not that great. You're not unlocking the true potential. It's just like an artist. You can give like a world-class artist a pencil and they could draw Picasso. You give me a pencil, I can write my name. It's the same pencil, right? This is kind of that pencil. So when you know how to use cameras, dialing in the aperture, using the ambient lighting to create shadows and textures and depth of fields, very crisp and sharp. Lenses. So I highly recommend if anyone's getting into YouTube or film or anything, do not get stuck in the rabbit hole of action cameras. They're too easy. You turn it on, you press record, just like I did right now. You're losing all the creative touch, all of it. Sure, you got creative placement, but you're missing out on creative touch. Not only that, lighting, low lighting situations, sunsets, depth of field, aperture, focal point, everything. You're totally missing out. This is where it's at. So switching lenses for me is really important because it's not just the field of view, it's the aperture, it's the focal point, it's the mood, it's the feel you get from switching lenses. So there's a lot of work doing that. In the pouring rain, you've got to tip it down, change the lens, make sure no water gets in the lens or inside of the camera body. Keeping the lenses clean constantly, keeping the water off them, keeping the ice off them. When I'm out in the wintertime hot tenting, going from the hot tent outside, the lens will fog up. Now you got to wait. The worst part is on the DSLRs is you'll go from inside to outside or outside to inside. The back of the lens, inside of the lens, and sometimes even the mirror inside of the camera will fog up. So now you've literally got to wait 30 minutes to 40 minutes air drying your camera next to a wood stove with the sensor open and exposed, which is a no-no. Trying to get everything dry so then you can film the next clip. Sometimes that happens when you're cooking or when I'm cooking. I cook a steak and I'm halfway through the steak. I move the camera outside of the tent, total fog. I got to take the steak off the stove, pause for 30 minutes, put it back on when the camera's dry, and continue. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that would just blow your mind. So that's why I'm sharing this today. So that is this camera setup. Let's talk about some of the other things that I like to do. All right, so touching on some other gear. The other thing that I have inside the bag, let's see. Okay, batteries. These are the batteries for the DJI Osmo, which I'm recording on right now. I have two others in here. This will charge via battery bank. So right here I have my Nightcore battery bank. This is the Nightcore NB 10,000. So this is 10,000 milliamp hours in this tiny little thing. Absolutely incredible. I use that with a USB-C cable to charge my headlamp, my phone, my camera batteries, whatever I need to charge that trip. And then a whole bunch of camera batteries in there for that, or this camera, sorry, this camera. Inside of the front compartment, what I typically carry with me, so I do have an extra ball head that actually clamps to various things inside the Jeep, inside the truck, that I can mount a camera whenever I need to. I have another quick release plate, which can also go on that ball head. Cables, another cable, just basic charging stuff, guys. Nothing real special in there. The small tripod usually goes in that spot. Nothing major there. The one thing I do want to talk about, though, is drone. So, like I was saying, I thought I had the DJI Air 2S with me. I left it home on purpose because I knew it was coming in thick, heavy woods, and I wouldn't need it in there. But I did pack this because it's 125 grams. It pretty much lives in my camera bag all the time. I never really take it out. But what I want to mention is a drone. So just bear with me and pretend that this is the Air 2S from DJI. When I'm flying the drone, it has a remote. So everything I do is manual. When I fly the drone, I line up my shot and I press record. And then when I'm driving, all I have to do is take one thumb and gently hold it on the forward stick. So I'm driving and one hand is holding on the forward, flying. Sometimes when I'm driving, I've got the action camera recording inside of the Jeep. And I've got this guy way up the trail and I'm driving towards it. So sometimes we have three cameras rolling at the same time. a drone, which could be a static shot. It could be up just looking down. Still, don't have to use it. I could be talking to the action camera on the dash, and this could be recording not only video, but audio, which I'm going to talk about in a second, from afar. So now I'm driving towards the camera. So there's a lot going on there. What that means is when I get home, back to my computer, all those SD cards got to come out, and I've now got to piece together, and that's the fun part for me. Filming cinematically is building a big jigsaw puzzle, essentially, of clips to make a video. There is no microphone on the drone. There's no microphone on any drone. The reason being is if there was a microphone on the drone, number one, it's hundreds of feet away from you. It's not going to record you. You can't pick up that audio. Number two, the props are extremely loud. So if there was a microphone, all you would hear would be, it wouldn't be very, very useful. So what has to happen, to those who don't know, is you need audio to put in that video. So whatever video I'm capturing with the drone, I also need backup audio via this guy, or sometimes I'll use the mic 2, and I'll actually hold the mic 2 out the window while I'm driving to collect audio from the tires crunching on the dirt, splashing through mud puddles, all of that stuff. And then I literally have to sync it by overlaying the audio on the video from the drone. Sounds like a lot of work, and it is. So whenever you do film work on any channel and you can hear the truck driving or people talking, or like if you're pouring coffee and doing dishes, you can hear the clanging and banging of the dishes. From a drone shot, all of that audio is overlaid audio that has to be meticulously placed and synced with the movement of the video. So when I'm driving towards this camera, I'm getting audio from afar, and it's getting louder and louder and louder and louder as it gets close. That's really good for drone shots. If you're flying the drone and let's say the drone's up in the air and it's sitting still and you're looking down, but you're driving towards it, you can then use that audio from the Jeep from afar coming closer. Now you need constant audio, which is where I'll hang this out the window. And let's say the drone is following me when I'm driving. I'll use the constant audio that I collected with the mic, because the Jeep's the same sound. It's not going afar, it's not coming or going. I'm recording as the Jeep's moving. I'll use that footage and the audio and overlay it. So it's sound design. You're building sound design for any drone shot. So there's a lot going on there, which means if you have any audio where you're talking, or any audio, if something happens, if you drive through a puddle, you need that splash. So you need the constant audio of a line bar, constant audio of the Jeep driving, but then you also need a little clip of a splash that you need to put over top of that to create that splash. It's very, very in-depth. So filmmaking is not just simple, take it out of the camera, put it in. I've been doing film for many years. To me, that's the fun. Not every channel is into film. Some channels are more into vlogging, which is great. But those who are involved in film, there's a ton of work, and it is extremely fun and rewarding once you get into it. And you never really master it because there's so many variables out here in the wild: the wind, the rain, the snow, the sunset, the sunrise. There's all kinds of things, and that's the challenge. That's why it's fun, to get that end goal piece out of camera in the computer and out to you guys to watch it, to bring you into the experience. So now that I've touched on that, I'm going to get that camera off the tripod and show you guys a tripod and some of the setups, how I film indoors, outdoors, things like that, because there are some useful tips as well. All right, so I've got the DJI on the smaller tripod right now, and I've actually elevated it on top of my camp stool. So it's going to be a little off. It's not perfect, but I just want to show you guys this. So quick mount on the bottom of the camera. I think everybody knows this. For those who don't know this, it's a universal mount that goes with most ball heads on tripods. The ball head will allow this to pivot without having to adjust the legs every single micro movement. Meaning I could take this camera off of that tripod and put it on this, or vice versa, which I just took that camera off this tripod. So now I can just snap this on here, just like that. Camera's on. I flip out my screen. The R6 Mark II has a rotating screen, which is great. So if I'm doing like shots really low to the ground, I don't have to actually get down with the camera. I can just look straight down on the screen, which is great. With my Canon R5, or not R5, 5D Mark IV, it's a solid back. There's no rotating screen, so I actually have to get down on the ground, so it's a little bit more involved. So the ball head, for example, if the camera's not straight right now, I don't have to straighten out the leg. All I have to do is straighten out the ball head, right? So ball heads are a must for me, absolute must. So this is a carbon fiber tripod. It is from ArtSize. This is the AS70C. Very nice tripod. This is the one that I use for film. I have a much larger leg diameter carbon fiber tripod for photos. This is excellent for what I need for hiking for film. It's not too big, it's not too bulky. It needs to be able to go inside the tent and outside of the tent. Very long extension as well, because sometimes I get the camera up really high if I'm on uneven terrain to kind of even it out, or sometimes I like to get it down really low. So bumping the tripod down low, I can get that perfect shot of pouring coffee. I can then step it up and extend the legs. These are just twist extendable legs. I love the twist extendable legs versus the levers, because the levers can actually break in the cold in wintertime. These can sometimes get frozen, but I take my hand and just kind of put it on there for a second to break that. The heat from my hand melts the ice, and then it works great. Right now I've got the metal spikes on the tripod. These basically live on here all the time. You can put rubber feet on them. I just run the metal spikes because I'm always outdoors and I'm always on ice, and having the metal spikes also work as trekking poles. So when I'm walking, I'll put my hand on the column of the tripod and collapse all the legs in, and then I've got 3 spikes that work as trekking poles. So when I'm going across ice, I can actually use my tripod as a trekking pole if I need to. Not only that, when I'm filming out on frozen lake beds, I've literally had myself blown across the lake, sleeping on nothing but a sleeping pad, no tent, sleeping pad, sleeping bag, and I've actually been blown across the smooth ice in the middle of the night, believe it or not. The same thing happens with the camera. Having the metal feet, it can't be blown across the ice. It can be moved, you know, an inch or 2 while you're filming. You get like that super smooth, almost like Zamboni ice after a rainfall and it's frozen, and you put rubber feet on a windy lake, camera's gonna go for a dance, guaranteed. So the metal spikes are a must. So that's a little bit of a tip and trick there. The hook is on the bottom of the tripod. This is what I was talking about. It's a spring-loaded hook, kind of hard to get out there right now. That spring-loaded hook is what I hang the camera bag on. So I'll usually lift it up, hang it there, and that adds a lot of weight and stability. You can get sandbags to do that as well, but if you're already carrying a camera bag, why not use a camera bag, right? Any filmmaker, photographer is going to have gear, batteries, lenses, all kinds of accessories. Use that to your advantage other than dead weight when you're not using it. So a couple tips and tricks there. That's the camera setup for that. It is starting to get quite a bit lighter outside, so I'm probably going to stop this video and continue on with my camping video. I just wanted to jump in and share a lot of this valuable stuff with you, because I've been getting asked a ton over the years, how do you film in the rain? How do you film in the wind? What do you do? There's nothing glamorous about it, I'll be totally honest. I'm about to go out in the freezing cold rain right now. It's just the way it is. Having the camera is like, it's almost like having an infant baby with you. You've got to baby it, you've got to take care of it. It's a full-time job just looking after the camera, keeping the lens clean, making sure it's not wet, making sure the microphone's plugged in, the batteries are charged, everything's good, it's blocked from wind. It doesn't have sun glare coming in the side of the lens. And that's just one camera. Then looking after the other camera, looking after the drone. It's a full-time job, but you gotta love it in order to succeed in it, and I absolutely love it. The camera bag that I'm using right now, touch on this really quick. This was a gift from my father years and years and years ago. It's a Swiss bag. I don't know anything else on it. I'm just looking for a name right now. It's a sling bag, so you can remove the sling. It's the perfect size for me. I have my major photography camera bag, not here obviously, but that bag is much bigger for photo shoots. This bag has been perfect size for me for many years. In fact, all of my videos other than the first 12 months of my channel have been filmed carrying this bag. So this bag's got some history to it, absolutely. It's a Swiss bag. I don't know anything else about it. Some of the tags have been ripped off. Yeah, great little bag though, works awesome. No problems there with that. And it's a great pillow when I want to lay down. So I know this video was a lot of talking. That was the purpose of it. If you're not into that, I understand. But for those of you who are interested in it and how I do my filming, how I get those crisp and clean shots, there's a lot of work put into it. If I'm next to a waterfall, there's a lot of water mist. That's a whole other realm. You got to clean the lens, hit record and run and get in the shot, and then do what you're doing calmly, because I'm a one-man show. So if I'm like calmly walking across a waterfall, I got to set the camera up out of the mist, and then I got to point it, compose my shot, get it focus locked, dial in my ISO, dial in my aperture, get it ready, lock it so it's locked, and then turn the camera, clean the lens off, spin it back around, press record, and run into the shot, and then calmly walk across, and then run back and get the camera. So there's a lot going on there, more than just set up a camera and go. Whole different world out here. Sure, it might work that way in your home, in your living room. Different world out here in the elements. Speaking of which, the rain's coming in heavy. I've got to get back to work filming this video. So hopefully this was useful. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any camera hacks and tips and tricks, drop them down in the comment section. Someone will appreciate it, absolutely. And I will actually be interested in quite a few of them, because I'm always looking for new hacks and tricks and tips. So that's it for the camera setup. Peace out. I'm going back to work. Catch you in the next video.